Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm finally back. I had the cold. Just watched Puss in Boots, finally.
And I'm very grateful to have you back. I don't feel so alone anymore and abandoned.
We're actually gonna have one more dog. We adopted another rescue. He's going to be with us this coming weekend, so you'll soon see 3 doggies in our channel.
Yes, so we saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the sensation that has been blowing up at the box office despite everyone's expectations that it would just flop. I don't think there was anyone really interested in another Puss in Boots movie. The last one came out, I remember watching in theaters. I was pretty young. It was a long time ago.
I don't think I watched the last Puss in Boots. I watched like the Shrek.
I don't know the last Shrek thing they did. But anyways, they clearly have gone in a different direction, inspired, it seems, by Into the Spider-Verse with a new creative kind of animation style. Way more kinetic, way more artistic. Fantastic. It was, I mean, I know everyone was saying how great it was, but I went in just in a really bad mood and I left it feeling really good. So, how did you think? What did you think of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish?
I loved it.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
I was really surprised because I honestly thought it was going to be a little lame, maybe, because sometimes like these kind of big franchise films that they do later on, like a small story about like a character that wasn't necessarily, I mean, Puss played a big role in the film, the second Shrek film. I think maybe I have an internal bias against it because sometimes they're just not made well. They're just kind of made for like money grab a lot of times. And so I kind of just thought like it was going to be another money grab film. Like, let's kind of capitalize on the name. Nothing wrong with that, but they're not always, again, best to the quality that it could be otherwise in my experience. And this was far beyond what I expected. I thought the quality was superb. I really liked how they made artistic choices when it came to a lot of fight scenes. I also liked the elements of it not just being completely funny, but having some serious moment in a very comedic type of beat. And I also liked that it introduced like more characters that also showed the background of Puss and before he was in Shrek, and
there were a lot of
kind of
really
like seeing
characters.
like and at the same time as in Once Upon a Time story type of film, it showed other characters from storybooks come to life, and I liked the background in their character arcs too. I also loved the villain. I can't really get too much into that because a lot of what I liked about it is spoiler, but I really liked how they didn't cheapen the motives.
Well, yeah.
Of every character, I think. That's the best way I could say it.
Yeah, I think what makes it so strong and what really hooked me into the movie was that first encounter with the bad guy. And there was a feeling of real stakes because the movie honestly felt like it was exploring his character in a different way. We're really challenging who Puss in Boots is. And when you see kind of mask of being superior than everyone kind of fall off, it's very frightening and feels very real and honest. And I think that another part of what makes the movie so entertaining is that it really is a mashup of so many different like genre elements in a very satisfying way. At first it seems like it's a hero redemption story, like he has to redeem himself and go battle, but then it's also this found family story. And then there's like a heist side plot, and then the quest side plot with a bunch of people like it's a mad world, going after treasure, so it has all these different things. So kids would definitely find it very entertaining. It's very colorful and light on its feet, but it also has stuff for the grown-ups to think about and feels very earned, all this stuff.
It's really interesting because I just kind of feel like the gap between what like adults would enjoy and also what kids would enjoy, sometimes with movies like this, there isn't a big gap at all, which is so interesting because I remember when I was growing up, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking for the adults when I was a kid, but I felt like they were always bored or they always are like, okay, like we're watching it for the kids.
My dad hated SpongeBob.
Yeah, but like I love SpongeBob still to this day, and I wonder if it's like, I always wonder that, and I would like to know your opinion. Like, is it usually like
But there's a lot of stuff I've watched that I loved when I was a kid. I watch it now and I go, I'll just remember it fondly.
Well, yes, of course. There's shows and movies that are a thin line between like adult and kid, and there's also movies like this where it's like there is almost no line at all between what's for adult and what's for kid, and there's others that are it's a very thick line between the two genres. But it kind of makes you relive your childhood in a lot of ways. That's fun.
I'm gonna guess. So my theory is that the movie is of such high quality because I really think that DreamWorks and the studios, whatever, they were not looking at this as like a movie that was going to make a bunch of money. They were kind of like, oh, we'll just toss this out there. It's in January. It came out in January. January is where all the studios dump their crap. And
it didn't come out in January. Didn't it come out in December?
No, it came out January. Fact check me, editor Jake.
Wait, hold on. I was right. It came out December 21st.
All right, fine. You were right. But regardless.
It was near Christmas.
Yeah, but regardless, I do think that there wasn't much attention paid to this movie, which is why I think it is of really high quality. I feel like they were able to put some creativity in there. I feel like if
do you mean without the studio control?
Without the studio interference, okay. I do feel like if it was more of a hot property where they were like, we need to like really rein this in, I think it would have had less creativity. I mean, regardless, it just had a lot of energy and fun. So what would you rate it?
I would rate it a 8.5 maybe.
Yeah, I would rate it like an 8.
Okay, cool.
So let's get into spoilers.
Yes.
All right, spoilers for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Can I go first?
Spoilers. I'm giving multiple warnings. Okay, go.
Okay. What I really liked about the villain in the story is that I guess the main big bad villain.
When I was talking about villain, I was first talking about the wolf.
The wolf doesn't end up being a villain. Because
no, but
he ends up like actually being like death, like kind of like just like atoning for people's sin. Because when Puss is changed, he's like, you know what, you don't deserve death, basically.
Yes, he's like the antagonist at first, but
he is like a fake antagonist.
He is the inciting incident. He's like the first original opponent, and then you have ultimately the big bad guy that they have to defeat is Jack Horner,
who unintentionally releases Jiminy Cricket, and you know he's supposed to be the good conscience and everything. And I love how the scene where you know Jimmy's like trying to be like, well, what about your childhood and stuff to try to turn him good, and then he goes, you know, I just loving parents who like supported me and
yeah, great childhood,
and it's like the funniest thing ever. And I just loved how they didn't try to like mud the villain one, and in a way I really respected that, because it like I think like sometimes fairy tale-esque type of shows or movies, it's always like every character has redemption, and I thought that this character was also going to have redemption. And I think like something about that, how evil he truly was, without giving him an arc that gave excuses to his behavior, really justified the character and also made the movie funnier, and I think also made this ending more satisfying.
Well, I think there's a difference between making a character who is complex and a character who you love to hate and is just so hateable. And I think the problem is a lot of Marvel villains lately especially, they work so hard on giving them this backstory and make them seem justified in their own ideas that they forget about making them seem like villainous, you know?
Well, I think like, I don't know, I could argue with that with Marvel. Like, for example, Loki, I think he's an awesome villain. But I do think like for this film in particular, there's so many other like characters that have a little bit more complex arc. Like, for example, the wolf, you know, in the very beginning, who I think is more of a metaphor for fear itself, because...
Well, he's death.
He's death, but like you fear death, and it's Puss... He can't defeat death because he's trying to run away from it. He's always trying to run away and kind of like go after his legacy and something that's more superfluous. And when he lets go of that idea and really like focuses on what really matters, then he has the courage not only to defeat death, not because he's not living for himself anymore. He has found a greater meaning within the love that he rediscovered. You know, the love of his life, the girl that he wanted to marry but feared marrying because he, again, was very selfish. And when he let go of that, then he was able to fight death. He had something to fight for in a like a very classic stereotypical way. So I really like that, because at the end you see the wolf is not the bad guy. He's actually just kind of like atoning for people with their sin. And in a way, for me, that was a metaphor of like heaven or hell. Puss getting second chances, having so many lives and living another one. It was like, okay, you are going to be given another chance at life, almost like a Christmas Carol, I guess you could say, and redo your life so that you don't make the same mistakes again. You're getting another chance instead of just like condemning him to death, which for him is basically like hell, because he's never going to redeem himself. He's going to still be in that mindset of being a failure when
yeah, I mean, they really made Puss in Boots like a very complex character, I think, and he's an anti-hero basically.
Yeah.
Because is sort of admirable, but he's obviously like way too full of himself. He doesn't want any attachments. He's immature. You get to really see him grow. And there's like roadblocks along the way that feel very realistic. And while he is free without his attachments and free with the feeling of immortality that he's gotten from having so many lives, now that he's on the last one, it actually makes him a better person because there's more stakes to his life now. And now he has people he cares about, Mm-hmm. One thing I did like is that when they revealed that he left the other cat on the altar, I forget her name, but he left her on the altar. In that moment, I was like, ooh, are they making him a little too unlikable? That's pretty bad. And I'm like, ooh, that's pretty bad. They're going to have to work really hard to redeem him. And then she reveals that she didn't show up either.
Yeah.
That was good.
I really like that they didn't make her into like a damsel in distress. Like, she makes active choices for herself and what's right. Yeah. And it's not like she's waiting around for him to change. Mm-hmm. Like
she's great.
I really like that the characters are making active choices such as that. And I really like Goldilocks.
I was surprised. They actually followed through on that little side arc, with her and her bear family. That was really cute.
Yeah. And it really, the whole film makes you question, like, what is family? Because Goldilocks, like, her wish is supposed to be,
get her parents.
But then she already had a family and parents who would love her more than anything. And just because they don't look like her, it's like you question, like, what does family really mean? What does it look like? It's really like
very wholesome.
Very wholesome. And I can see why it was released near Christmas, because it is that like family oriented type of, like, it's not always about blood. A lot of times, like, and I love this, like, just because your blood doesn't make you family, if you've ever watched Supernatural. But it really shows that in this film. It's really about like people who are there for you, people who care for you, and people who really love you endlessly and are supporting you. And I really like the dog.
Here's the thing. The dog was, for me personally, the weakest
element. I don't think so.
Okay, because I get that the dog is supposed to be like the cute comedic relief character, and there were some good moments.
Yeah.
Like, he had some good moments where, like, he's taken by the bears and then he's like they're swearing at each other, like insulting each other, and then it's just the bleeps start going. It's just, that was very surprising and funny. He was a little too just like just a little too of the obnoxious, like, side
but
character.
I think, like, if you compare him, like, by himself, yes, but I think if you compare him,
he was an Olaf character.
Yeah, if you have to have, I think, a character like that to balance out other people in the story or other characters in the story, because I think, like, if everyone, you can't have too many. He just is that, like, comedic relief, like you said, but also black and white character that you need in a world that's trying to be really complex.
His purpose definitely worked, and like the final thing with him doing like the cute dog face, with try to defeat Jack Horner was funny, and he had some good moments. But just personally for me, it was a tad too much, a little bit too cute, kind of like
too much sugar in your coffee.
Too much sugar in my coffee.
You like being cute?
I like the scene when Puss in Boots is having an anxiety attack, and then
my god, yeah, and then the dog becomes a therapy dog.
Yeah. You have anything else to add?
No, I will just say that, like, I recommend watching it, and let us know what you thought. This is actually a movie that you guys recommended to us a while back. So
good job, everyone.
Yes, we are going to be back on this Saturday with another video. So until then, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.